Hi traders, welcome to this Forex weekly trading ideas video with me, John, senior market analyst here at Blueberry Markets. I'm going to take you through some of the data we've got coming up this week, as well as some charts of interest. So back to a very full calendar this week. We've got some significant updates to come within the markets, and it's going to be very, very important this week. Whether we see that volatility return or not is still a question that we asked ourselves last week. We didn't really see volatility return. The market just kind of calmed down a little bit, but we've got really important data coming up, and it kicks off with some data out of China. You can see that we've got the 1 year and 5 year loan prime rates. This has been cut twice recently, and it's showing us really that the Chinese economy is weakening a little bit, so they're trying to support it by bringing those rates down. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that again or whether they decide to hold. We've got some inflation data out of Canada this week, month on month, expected to come in at 0.4%. Up from the prior minus 0.1%, but trimmed CPI, so that is essentially core CPI, expected to come down to 2.8% in here. Then we have US FOMC meter minutes. This for me is going to be quite important going into this trading week. Do the Fed point towards more cuts, or do they point to cuts coming in September in these meter minutes? Then we have flash manufacturing and services PMI out of Europe. We've also obviously got the Germany figures as well. Now, German flash manufacturing PMI, a little bit weaker previously. It looks to have been revised, but if we do see any kind of downside to this, the euro could come under some short-term pressure this towards the end of the trading week. We've also got some more labour market data out of the US in unemployment claims, and then we have the Jackson Hole Symposium. So we'll see a lot of central bank speeches coming up towards the end of this trading week as well, including Federal Reserve Chairman Powell. So as you can see, lots of high impact data this week, and typically when we do see that, the market can go more towards safe haven assets. Now let's have a little look at what's been strong and weak from last week. We can see obviously the euro under a little bit of pressure across the board. The pound really outperformed most currencies, as well as the Australian dollar. I was actually quite surprised by the move in the pound because of the data wasn't actually that good out of the UK last week, but obviously the market felt that it was, and we saw a significant rise in the pound after being in that reversal zone. Australian dollar continues to perform pretty well. Kiwi not following a similar path. Dollar was a poor performing currency as well, which we spoke about. And then we've got the Swiss and the yen still technically remaining strong because those markets were just in those kind of pullback phases in the recent downside moves that we've had. So looking at the dollar index, one thing we talked about last week was the idea that the market could come back down towards 102.50s. Dollar still under pressure at the moment. However, high impact news week, we closed back at support. We didn't break the previous week's range, so there is still a good opportunity for price to maybe rebound a little bit here. I think if we do take out the 102s, then the 101s is going to be something to look out for. Really speaking, if we see the data starting to point to further cuts, then a currency typically does devalue in those states, so we could see further downside. We're just at a little bit of a zone now, and that's what's interesting to me. So typically if traders have been short, let's say from the 106s, they may see this as another point where they can take some profits off. Obviously, that was probably what we saw the prior week, where we saw this nice little rebound. But at the moment, the market's still making lower highs here. So for me, it's still typically or points to a bit more of a bearish US dollar. You can see that reflected in the euro US dollar price. Obviously a very good rally last week. We didn't really form any kind of bottom wick on the weekly chart, and now we're in this kind of weekly area of resistance. So got to be a little bit more cautionary going into euro US dollar. Obviously euro, one of the most underperforming currencies last week. It was just better than the US dollar, and so it tells me really that this is just that dollar weakness move that's driving euro US dollar higher at the moment. So interesting, now we're in this weekly area of resistance. Maybe if those German manufacturing PMIs come in a little bit poorer, it could put a little bit of downside pressure on euro dollar in this zone. Going on to cable then. So we spoke about cable in terms of the opportunity for the market to rebound. The more from the fact that we're in this demand zone down here, or this support zone, between that sort of 127 handle. We looked at the previous week's candles. They were showing some signs of potential reversal with the price closing back higher on the end of the week. We then breached trendline resistance last week and we continue to drive higher, and it looks like we're heading up towards the 1.3. So I think any kind of downside this week may be met with a little bit of support, and could see pound prices a little bit higher. Going on to dollar Swiss then. So if the market does start to try and buy safe havens, the Swiss franc has been one of those currencies that has benefited from safe haven plays for the past few weeks. We did obviously get a couple of pullback candles in here. We do have also a speech from the Swiss National Bank chairman as well coming up this week, so we could see some volatility surrounding that. But let's say the market does go and seek safe havens. We've had a close below the previous week's high. That to me is typically a bearish signal, but you know, I'll be looking for any kind of changes in short-term trend on lower time frames to really confirm there's a potential for this market to try and head towards the 0.84 handle. Obviously, I'll keep you updated on strength and weakness going into tomorrow's video. But if you do have any comments, questions, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you did like the video, hit that thumbs up, and I'll speak to you in the next one.